The views and opinions on this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of the executive producer or the sponsors. They are those of the hosts and guests only. We believe freedom of conscience means the right to speak free, to think and believe as you will without the imposition of official coercive power over those beliefs. Liberty cannot exist when people are forced to conform their thoughts and expression to an official viewpoint. Differences of opinion are the natural byproducts of a vibrant, free society. Thank you. Live from Studio Diablo in Chicago, Illinois, this is MKULTRASOUND.
Get with the countdown.
I speak jive.
Forget it, man. Blast off for Kicksville. Shake this square world. Blast off for Kicksville.
I speak jive.
Forget it, man. Get with the countdown.
I speak jive.
Forget it, man. Blast off for Kicksville. Shake this square world. Blast off for Kicksville.
How much do you remember about what you were taught in history class? I'm talking about some of the basics related to Independence Day. And it turns out a lot of Americans don't even know, they don't even know why we celebrate the holiday. A new one poll survey found a whopping 41% have no clue what the meaning behind July 4th is. 45% incorrectly guessed the year the Declaration of Independence was signed. They said 1777 instead of 1776. On the bright side, the vast majority, about 82% of those surveyed, did give the Star Spangled Banner as the correct answer to the title of our national anthem.
Bass. I couldn't help it. The story they don't want us to know. Cocaine in the White House, the most secure building in the world. That was Grandmaster Flash, everybody. If you're old school, early hip hop rap, he was one of the very, very first. But Pete, can you believe it? I mean, I can, but I mean, wow, cocaine in a very secure part of the White House.
It couldn't have been Hunter. It could have been him.
I don't think we're going to know. Secret Service keeps saying different places that they found it, and we're not going to know. It's just like some of the other things that they're sweeping under the rug. But I'm not surprised, being that they pretty much had a nude show on the White House lawn just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that. I wasn't there. But as far as the coke, maybe they're shooting up Joe, because, you know, every time you see him in public and he does not fall down, maybe that's because he's jacked up on coke. You know?
I don't know. In fairness, he's not the first president to fall.
But that's such a, like, you know, that's a footnote of everything that's going on, is it not?
It absolutely
And that's
is.
why we're here today. Thanks for having me back on your show,
Dude,
Alex. Yeah.
Thanks for Tuesday. 4th of July, I joined you, your wife, daughter, and a lot of other great people that I'm getting to know for the Oak Park 4th of July parade, and we were there supporting the candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You're a great American to have joined us in the cause, Alex.
Yep, it was great until you couldn't find your car.
And I knew being I know. We could not find our cars, like being lost in the wilderness. Everything in Oak Park looks the same. You know, Hemingway from Oak Park, he didn't have much love for the city. And after the parade, I partially understand why, which I know we're going to talk. But, you know, he called Oak Park the city of broad lawns. You know, everything looks the same. There's like no landmarks, and we couldn't find the car.
Yeah, but the park looked the same from all four corners
of the globe.
Like you said, I've been on the. I was telling your family how I'd been on the Frank Lloyd Wright home tour there.
I love Frank Lloyd Wright,
and the yards, they're all squares.
It's just like the homes.
Yeah, and we did 15 blocks of that thing through residential areas.
Yeah.
I don't think is there a main street there that I even know of? I know Harlem shoots.
I don't know. You know, if I never go back to Oak Park, it'll be fine with me.
But talk to us about, and should we just go ahead and play Robert Kennedy announcing his presidency?
Let's do that.
Okay, we'll come back and we'll talk to you all about the parade and everything else, and some of the things that aren't making it to the mainstream media because
all the things that aren't making it.
They don't want you to know. So here's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
Every nation has a darker side, and the easiest thing for a politician to do is to appeal to our hatred and our anger and our bigotry and greed and xenophobia and all of the alchemies of demagoguery. My father and my uncle had a vision for America, a vision of racial harmony, of prosperity for all Americans, of peace in the world, and of honest government. Their lives were tragically cut short, and America took a different path. Yet the possibility they foresaw is still alive, the America that almost was and yet may be. I've been fighting corporate corruption my entire life, but I understand that today the problem is much larger than a few crooked individuals. The problem is a system that no longer serves the people, and a people who are so divided and so fearful that they are easily ruled. It's time to unlearn the reflexes of fear and blame and find ways to unify ourselves and turn our country around. I won't pretend to you that it will be easy, but I know what it will take. My father said it: love, wisdom, and compassion toward one another, and that's where we need to start. We will scale down the war machine and bring our resources home. We will rebuild our water systems, repair our roads, modernize our railroads, and clean up our environment. We will also clean up government and earn back the people's trust. We will end the secrecy, the censorship, and the surveillance. We will again be a fearless land of liberty.
The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it.
We will face honestly the darker parts of our history, the genocide, the racism, not to shame or blame or punish, but to repair as best we can in a spirit of compassion and kindness toward all. I'm inviting all of you to join me to create an America that we can believe in and be proud of again. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and I'm running for President of the United States.
These are things that you're not going to hear on the news outlets, other than independent news, and maybe Fox. I don't know. But here's what I got this week. I got slammed for being in the parade, and I've been sold anti-vaxxer and what's the other one about misinformation, and completely untrue. He's not an anti-vaxxer. He thinks that they need to be tested.
Exactly.
And I've learned a lot. Another thing I learned through your wife, two things. One was I didn't know what was up with his voice until I did some research after she told me that was
spasmodic dysphonia.
Excellent. Yeah. And I heard his younger speaking voice, and clear, concise, perfect. But that's the thing. This is what the media is going to throw at you. He's an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
And we know a lot more about the COVID virus than we did. We know now what we did.
A whole lot is coming out, but people don't want to believe it because it's Pavlov's dog. They've been conditioned to believe. You know, it's neurological response. It's we've built a way of life that depends on people doing what they're told because they don't know how to tell themselves what to do. So the conditioned collective, unaware of the criminal behavior already inflicted upon them, not just recently, even now, but throughout history, they await further instruction, willfully programmed to put their trust in unknown entities that hide in shadows. And as Bobby just said in that beautiful clip you just played, what I love about him, amongst so many other things, he's fearless. I mean, after what happened to his father and Uncle Jack, who were slaughtered, basically they had to make an example.
True.
And that's really when the wheels, the machine started rolling off the track of productive, positive, willful purpose that is Uncle Jack and Father Bobby Kennedy. Anti-war, cleaning up the corrupt FBI, CIA. Nothing's new under the sun. Total transparency. You hear every election, the past elections, every 4 years, every president promises to be transparent and honest with the public. Well, that's a bag of lies. And when Bobby, and so people, and a lot of people that just don't want to believe, even though all the facts are coming out, not just about COVID, but the border, the child trafficking, the 2 million children being trafficked, snatched, the coyotes. It's a big business. The war, the Ukraine war. There's like, aren't you afraid that the same thing's going to happen to you as your Uncle Jack and father, Bullet? And Bobby's like, he's like, no, I'm not. I have no fear. He's in great shape, mind and body, and I relate to that because I'm 65 years old. So many things could have, should have, would have killed me by now, but they have not. Maybe you can relate, Alex.
Yeah,
just a few years behind. So it's like, and I tell my wife, my daughter, I say, if anything were to happen to me, no tears, please. Don't waste them. To me, tears are on the child that dies of cancer. And that's still a problem last I looked. And no mask or standing in little circles or keeping your hands washed with sanitizer is going to cure cancer. So save the tears. And I know he feels the same way.
Right. And for the record, for everybody that wants to say that I'm anti-vax, I'm fully vaccinated and I got the boosters. And I got a lot of shit from some of my other friends. Like my good friend Larry Goon, it's a poison. And I'm like, look, I wanted to be able to fly. I wanted to be able to go to events. You had to show that card to do it. But the places I went to, Dallas, Texas, it was like it never happened. People in Florida, it was like it was great. And you didn't hear about big numbers of deaths.
No, in other countries, I think Sweden and Switzerland mixed up because they're full of beautiful blonde women. And
yeah.
And anyway, I'm not going to go there.
You're going to talk about the Dutch one?
I married one. But anyway, they didn't have the lockdowns, I believe. And now here's the thing. Everyone likes to, like we were marching in the parade, you and I with the rest of the Team Kennedy volunteers. It was a wonderful day. And we held our heads high despite the boos and jeers and get vaccinated. Okay, here's the thing. Despite, however, anyone thinks about vaxxed, unvaxxed, to me, the issue that kind of gets lost in all the vaccination debate is the lockdowns. So here, while we're being locked down, told to stay home, businesses are closed, except for the big box stores, the Costco's and the Walmarts. Essential. Thank you. I was searching for that word. I'm a little slow this morning. I'm on my 5th pot of coffee. Yeah. And what's essential? So it's the big corporate box stores. They would have a little mom and pop bar like here in your neighborhood. Yeah. You might find 2 people in there sitting at opposite ends of the bar on a Tuesday, hardly a threat, but they got to close that down. But a Walmart where you literally have thousands of people coming and go, okay. And, so while we're told to stand in little circles, wear these ridiculous masks, stay home, lose our jobs, lose our businesses, millions are streaming in across the border. And it hasn't stopped. And is this a coincidence that a week after the emergency is lifted on COVID around the globe here in America. No more emergency, which means even though we've been demasked and we've been going about business as usual for a while anyway, but officially it was lifted. So in other words, okay, the sky is blue again. A week after that, Title 42, was it? Okay, I think it's 42. Maybe I'm wrong, 72. I think it's 40. Title 42 was lifted, which was instilled by Trump on the border. Basically, that was a vetting system. They were testing for COVID and what. Okay, for the illegals, that was lifted like a week. So it's like after all this BS of lockdown, standing in circles, social distancing, the 6-foot thing was not scientifically proven or nothing. Believe the science nonsense. All this, we're all good little doobies. We're all in this together. We're all taking one for the team, getting poked, getting jabbed. After all that, a week now you got just. The floodgates are open. They're pouring in, and already there's cases of measles and malaria sprouting up. This president is a criminal. And you know what? I don't care anymore. I know being a member of Team Kennedy volunteer, I'm getting some slack online because I've been a big campaigner. I've raised a lot of money for Bobby on my own. I've recruited like 80 volunteers, and people are telling me, like, when I get negative like this, I thought the whole campaign was about taking the high road and not attacking anyone. Well, you know what? I'm sick of it. That's Bobby. That's not me. Okay, volunteers, I'm not making any money. I don't get paid to raise the thousands of dollars I have for him. And I put in a lot of time. I put in like 18-hour days since April when he announced his candidacy. And I'm sick of it. This president should be arrested and put behind bars along with Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates. These people are globalists. All three of them, Biden, Fauci, Gates, and the list goes on. They're global. They're sitting at tables, the table with the WHO, WEF, World Economic Forum, World Health Organization. For those who don't know what those abbreviations mean, and these people are maniacal. They're satanic, and they want nothing more than a one world dictatorship. That is the goal. Devalue the American dollar, which the Chinese is working on. Very expediently. And Biden loves China. He and Klaus Schwab, the head of the WEF, who has Nazi connections. His parents were Nazis, and we need the Great Reset. We need a Great Reset. The clips are there. There's Klaus Schwab, the head of the WEF, and who are these people? They're not elected officials. Who are these people to try to dictate, run the world? And you see Biden in the audience. You see Leonardo DiCaprio, all these elite globalists, and the clips are up there for anyone who cares to educate themselves, and they talk about how we need to control. We need to control. That's it. He talks. He sounds like a freaking Nazi. They want to control the world, and this climate change and this Klaus Schwab, the head of the WEF, he has a vision where for a global uniform, where everyone's wearing the same clothes and whatnot. Nobody owns land. Nobody eats meat. They're already slaughtering in the UK or Ireland, I think it was. They slaughtered tens of thousands of cattle. Because, as we all know, cattle are the problem.
Yeah.
Right? They fart and then climate change gets worse. It's insane. Dude, I could spend 5 hours talking. And so much of this stuff, at one time, the things that I espouse, the things that I talk about, it used to be considered, conspiracy stuff, little green men stuff. But it's not. We don't need science fiction movies anymore. I'm not trying to, not promote science fiction. Watch movies, because I'm an actor myself. But gosh, what can you watch? What science fiction can you watch anymore? That is more mind-blowing than what's going on right now. But people do not want to know. They're scared. And what I try to tell people, people don't like to be proven wrong. As Americans, we have big egos, and I'm one of them. Especially being an entertainer, show business all my life. But people, so even though there's no shame in being admitting that you were conned, you were duped. We all get lied to. We all fall for it, right? There's no shame in that. The shame is when the truth starts coming out and you start to suspect that you were wrong, but still clinging to what you believed before. And that's what it is. That's what it is. And that this one issue stuff, like at the parade, they're screaming as, "Oh, I'm vaccinated, you're not." Oh, okay. Is that the whole issue? Is that what the whole issue is all about? Like maybe we're not on the brink of nuclear war right now, and Biden and the military and industrial complex, which Eisenhower warned about, handed the ball off to JFK, who saved us from nuclear annihilation during the Cold War. He stared down the Russians and he saved us, even though his military was like, Jack, bomb Russia, bomb Cuba. You can do it. They can't retaliate yet. You got to get them now. And Jack said, well, we call ourselves a human race. No, I'm not going to do it. Well, now you got Biden pushing the Ukraine a Russian war because where Trump was getting us self-reliant on oil, Biden comes along, build back better. Okay, build back, tear down the wall, and then what he's doing is we're reliant again. So we're reliant on Russia for a lot of oil, plus I believe there's extortion. I don't know if anyone's ever watched House of Cards. I'm watching it for the second time. I loved House of Cards, the series, but what goes on there is reality. There's extortion, there's blackmail, and so we really don't know why a guy like Biden comes along and you just pull your hair out. Well, what's wrong with being self-reliant? How come he's making us more reliant again? Well, it's called blackmail and extortion. There's deals made between countries. It's all global. It's all connected. And it's so deep. This rabbit hole goes so deep. So while we're all arguing over needles or getting poked with needles or not getting poked with needles, there's so many things going on that people just can't comprehend. They don't want to comprehend because people don't like to think about things that keep them awake at night. They need their rest.
This was a rough state to live in during the COVID, and they did lift it for a while. Then remember that spike, and then we closed everything down again. Business is gone. Suicide up. Domestic abuse, spousal abuse up. I mean, just the kids that were offing themselves because they couldn't see their friends. Sports, there were no sports for a whole year.
Yeah.
Our mayor, in her ultimate wisdom, shut down the lakefront for an entire season.
Ridiculous.
The lakefront, you're outside.
Yeah. You really can't get COVID outside. You can't, and just even now here, when I see people walking down the street wearing masks, you know, see fear. I was thinking of this. Well, I'm thinking all the time. But while I was driving here for your show, Alex, you know, I think we underestimate the power of fear. I mean, we know that people are fearful, and fear is, and there's good fear. You know, I'm going to run from the situation and not head on, because some things are better to walk away from, and that's not necessarily fear, but common sense. But I think we underestimate how powerful this Pavlov dogs induce this conditioning of, and the media knows it, the government knows it, the globalists know it. Keep people fearful and divided, conquer and divide. And it's like, united we stand, but we're not united. And I got to say, Bobby's slogan of heal the divide, I love it. But there's a lot of naivety to it and idealism to it, because I wonder if it's too late, because, there's always those that are going to think what they're going to think. And even faced with the facts, it doesn't matter, because black is white, white is black. Everything's been turned upside down today. Right. They're creating, language is being created in the mind of the beholder. You can't say, okay, like Ayn Rand. I'm a big fan of her books. I know when I say that, Ayn Rand, hey, did you ever read Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead? Great literature, and that's inspired some of my writing. And I see you have my books out here on your table here. Yeah. She's a great writer, but her philosophy of objectivism, what that basically means is what is. And it doesn't matter how emotional you are or how that offends you, or like, no, wait a second, no, it doesn't have to be if I don't think it is. It still is. It's a law of the universe kind of stuff, and that's objectivism. You could maybe call it realism. I'm a realist. I used to think that some people tend to think that a realist means you're an atheist or you don't believe in God. Not necessarily. I think that's separate from spirituality, but that's a whole nother. Absolutely. That's a whole nother radio show.
That's a different show. Yeah. I want to go back to the parade for a moment, because I just the irony of our first banner, heal the divide.
Yeah.
And why is that bad? Because the division I saw in a very, very far left, wealthy neighborhood, screaming, "Don't vote for wealth." Oh, you've got a house worth how many million? I'm sorry. Our president isn't super wealthy. Yeah. And then the booing. There were some supporters there, and I do want to say, that felt good. Well, we didn't let anything break us. All smiling, we're waving. Yeah. Most of the crowd was doing the peace sign in our group. But I just find that I run it, heal the divide, and nobody wants to heal the divide. Nobody. This division that exists in my lifetime, I've never seen it like it has been in the last almost 10 years.
No, and so many people don't do the research. There's no excuse for being ignorant today with the internet. Libraries are always there for those who care. You might be one on your block, but you see, the thing is, they've been conditioned to right out of the gate. I saw this. I started campaigning for Bobby before he announced his candidacy in Boston, and I was invited to that. I had one foot on the tarmac, but I couldn't get away, and it was a great speech. But you see, so right away the media is their slogan is, whenever they would introduce him in their online rags, or the talking heads, the anti-vaxxing candidate, the anti-vaxxing Bobby Kennedy, right. known most for being an anti-vaxxer, known anti-vaxxer. So instead of like the ecologist or the peacetime, the anti-war candidate, nothing positive. See, so you create a negative slogan, and in the law of advertising, a person hears something enough times, they go out and buy the product. So it's Pavlov's dog. They condition these people, anti-vaxxer, and see that. We were divided during COVID. There was shaming. Oh, you're not wearing a mask. Oh, yeah. Mask shaming. Are you? Oh, I know. I had fallout with my own band. I had the last band I had, my Johnny Cash tribute band, and they're all getting on my case, because right from day one, when Pritchard announced the shelter in place, I'm on Facebook, and I did a rant. I said, America, I'm ashamed of you. I thought we were land of the free, home of the brave. Are we going to crawl under our beds? And we've had worse pandemics, far worse than COVID. And the Constitution, Bill of Rights, it explicitly states in there, it was so unconstitutional lockdowns. And that's what our Constitution is about. The right to assemble. 24/7 every day of the year. It didn't say, unless a cold virus comes along, which basically COVID was. Now let me tell you, I don't mean to be mean here, because I know people did lose loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone I know, my wife, my kid, in-laws, my brother, all people I knew, my brother had it. Okay, I had it. But it was like a mild cold. Okay, but see, I'm in good shape.
You're healthy. Yes,
I'm in
very
good
healthy.
shape. I take care. I'm 65, but I exercise every day. I eat responsibly. I quit drinking a year and a half ago. During COVID, I didn't touch a drop because it was just such a dark time. And I've always been more of a celebratory drinker. Not like, I'm depressed, I'm going to get drunk.
Right.
I would celebrate life with my drinking. But anyway, I just decided I want to become sober. But that's a whole nother radio show, too.
Yeah.
But you see, the thing is, a good part of the people that came down, hit severe cases of COVID and died from COVID, they had three chronic illnesses to begin with. And Kennedy talks a lot about this. What I love about him, he's about so many things, so much more than if people would just get off the vaccine thing. We are a sickness state, which really connects with COVID. Big Pharma is the biggest lobbyist there is. Out of all if you look at the chart of lobbyists, they're at the top, and their graph goes way almost off the freaking page. And so the media, the mainstream, the ABCs, the NBCs, the CBSs, okay, like Anderson Cooper, he makes $12 million a year. $10 million is from Big Pharma, because Big Pharma is 75% of the advertising revenue of the mainstream media. So they have to deny it because they have to keep their jobs. You know what? It's laughable. It's a pipe dream. It's a pipe dream to think that one day Rachel Maddow and Anderson Cooper and all these extensions of the corrupt left-wing DNC would come on and say, you know what, we're going to turn over a new leaf today, viewers. We're going to have Bobby Kennedy on, and we're going to expose Big Pharma and the lies of Fauci and everything. That'd be laughable. They can't do it. That's all you need to know. Big Pharma is 75% of their advertising revenue. We all know. We watch television. We see the news. Every other commercial.
Yep.
Ask your doctor if Kill Me Now is good for you. May cause nuclear fallout, hair loss, diarrhea, homicidal tendencies, suicidal tendencies. Oh, this is good stuff. Imagine if there was a product in our store. Say there was a ketchup or a mustard that made you suicidal and caused homicidal tendencies. Do you think they'd pull that shit off the shelves?
In a hot minute.
I mean, my God, it's ridiculous. Open up your eyes.
Yeah, we got a lot more to talk about, and I do want to come back. But I insist on playing some of your new record. I love it. I've always been a fan. This thing is, whoo. You worked with Charlie Bonnet III.
Yeah, Nashville. We finished that off first of the year. It was great being back in Nashville again, working with Chuck.
And I hear your punk rock influence in this one.
Oh, yeah, because Island, my sixth album, Island, one of my favorites, and I want to do something different. I wanted to mellow out and just be a little more introspective. And it was a time in my life that I was going through. And all my albums, I could never go back and do them again. Why would I want to?
Right. But again, at my insistence, we're going to play a couple of songs. And, we tried to do a show about a month or so ago, and something crashed. I mean, same thing kind of happened last show.
Yeah.
But it had to do with the internet being affected by all the cell phones for the Pride Parade. So it cut out that we had to do.
Wow. That was it? Okay.
Yeah. So that was rough. But the lady that was co-host that day, she loves your music too, Amy.
Yeah, Amy. She's a great
Hope
girl.
you're doing great out there in San Diego right now. But we're going to play Finger Down My Throat.
And what I love about Amy, and Amy, you're wonderful. She greets me. She let me in.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Because it's always hard to get into your apartment. Because you just today you text me, come on up, the door's unlocked, everything's locked. I'm like, what am I, Houdini? But Amy greeted me in the hallway wearing an Iggy Pop T-shirt.
Oh, that's right.
So what's there not to love there?
Yeah. So this is from your new record. What's it called?
The Damage is Done.
And this is Finger Down My Throat on the MKULTRASOUND podcast.
Stare at me and
right there. Pete Berwick.
That's my State of the Union. That's my State of the Union.
And you're often called the cowpunk pioneer, which I think fits you.
You know, call it what you want. Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. So it's funny, you know, Chuck and I, Charlie Bonner, who produced this, we go way back to my national days, 92. We worked side by side at a factory, hating every minute of it. And Chuck was, you know, he was struggling away with this metal band and touring with Guar.
Wow.
Basically, his band was following Guar in a car. And the deal was, you know, this is rock and roll, the reality of rock and roll. You know, you think, wow, opening for Guar, famous band. But the whole band would get like $100 a night, and they had to sleep in their car. They no expenses, but it was like take it or leave it. If you don't, we have other bands that'll do it.
Sure.
And Chuck is a road warrior. So anyway, long story short, our friendship has continued. Chuck was always, I give him advice in his struggling days. I was signed to a record label down there, and he was watching me and learning from me. And I'm really this guy, and he runs circles where he's caught up with me, and he continues to run. He's surpassed me because he continued to road dog it when I decided to give up the road. I just didn't want to live like a homeless person anymore. But Chuck has balls of steel. So anyway, we talked last year, and I said, Chuck, let me release some of your stuff on my record label. You know, my record label's mostly been me, my own records. I want to release other artists. He says, I got a better idea, Pete. You know, pull 10 songs out of your ass, come down to Nashville, I'll produce it and finance it. So it's basically like I'm offering Chuck, not a record deal. I'm not really. It's like just let me release some of your stuff, you know. And so it's great. So Chuck, man, he did a great job here, and I had no desire. Every time I say I'm done with the music business, something comes along.
Right.
Like, come on, Pete, do another record. And if it's on someone else's dime, what the hell? But I'm just not going to dig into my pockets anymore because, man, I've been at this shit since I was 16, half a century now, and I'll always love music. But, you know, the acting business is a little more humane of a business. It's a little more creature comfort oriented. You know, it's like when you go on the road, they put you in a hotel. You don't have to sleep in your car. Mm-hmm. You get paid better. It's a gift that keeps on giving a little more. The music business isn't really the gift that keeps on giving. It's a gift that keeps on fucking you over.
Hey, I got to do a quick commercial spot. We'll come back. I want to talk about the fun side of the candidate, because he's got a really fun side.
Oh, yeah.
And about who his wife is, because I found that very interesting after your wife.
And
let me know about that.
And his wife's a hottie, too, Cheryl.
Oh yeah. Very, very. Okay, we'll be right back.
Every great day starts with a cup of get the fuck out of bed coffee from Martin Atkins and Dark Matter Coffee. Go to darkmattercoffee.com. Look for the big red logo that says get the fuck out of bed. America runs on damage, and it all starts with a cup of get the fuck out of bed coffee. There are 10 commandments and there are 7 deadly sins, but there is only one MK Ultra magazine. Visit us daily online at www.mkultramagazine.com for entertainment news, reviews, and interviews. mkultramagazine.com, home of Alexander's Diary of a Damn Man. That's mkultramagazine.com.
All right, so RFK Jr. is married to the very, very beautiful Cheryl Hines.
Yeah.
Who is most well known for being Larry David's wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm, which was a huge success, massive success. And, you know, when Denise said some Hollywood, Denise didn't know the name right off the top of her head in that parade. And I got home and looked it up. I'm
Denise
like, wow.
being my wife,
yes,
for those of you who don't know who Alice is talking
Sorry.
That's okay.
But yeah, I was like, wow. And she's Hollywood. And from what I've understood, that's caused a little bit of friction, because the Hollywood people who stray from the left, like James Woods
from the woke,
they destroyed him.
The woke left.
James Woods can't get a gig anymore.
Yeah, you ever see his posts on Twitter? They're hilarious. The kind of stuff that you post, like another shooting, another cars on fire just because. Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah, Hollywood's a cult. It is a cult.
And the Kennedys have always been friendly with Hollywood. I mean, Marilyn Monroe, Sinatra. the whole thing.
And this will affect her. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I as an actor, I'm not Hollywood. I work here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Most. When I go on the road, it's like Grand Rapids, Iowa, places like that. I'm going to be going to Sacramento for a week in October to work on an independent movie. They're all independent. Anything that's not Hollywood is independent. That word has lost meaning, just like alternative. But so I can't say I'm familiar with any of Cheryl Hines, any of her movies, films, or anything, or how high she is on the pecking order. But it's gonna hurt her, and maybe. So I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision. And Bobby said, if my wife wasn't in agreement with it, I wouldn't be doing it, which I can understand as a married man myself, but maybe, I don't know, maybe she just figures she has nothing to lose anyway.
Right.
Acting is tough. People don't realize it. Even if you're a movie star, you can go a year in between movies. I mean, you can work and you think like, this is it, man. And then suddenly it's like and now, okay, the writer's strike, I was told that there may be an actor strike and a director's strike. In other words, everyone's on strike. And even this was happening before COVID with all the streaming, home movie theaters and sound systems. The theaters were starting to, and now with COVID, it's really horrible. You go in a movie theater, the place is empty.
It's not the same anymore. It hasn't come back.
And
the blockbusters aren't doing what they did.
And it's all superhero movies, So the writers, and I don't know how much the media is talking about this or not, but of course, why does anyone go on strike? For better benefits, less hours, more pay. Nobody wants to be worked like by dogs. If anyone works long hours, it's on film, on acting. You tend to be go over the time slot and be expected to do it. But the writers are also protesting AI taking over for them. AI is writing scripts now. AI is writing scripts. Now, it hasn't been ironed out yet. It's kind of nonsensical, but once it's ironed out, you'll have AI writing screen, replacing writers and actors too. Well, you have entire CGI movies like Avatar and these superhero movies. Oh my God, you don't need stunt people anymore. They CGI the stunts.
But let's go back to Kennedy. The push-ups last week, because you're known going on stage, taking your shirt off and playing. And
I used to in my drinking days. I'm a little sober now.
It was fun, man.
My pants off too.
Mine as well.
I think you and I have both been pantsless on stage together
with Jerome
with boxer shorts. Let's not we'll revisit that off the air.
But I watched being interviewed by Russell Brand.
I love him.
Hysterical. And when Russell Brand was whacked out of his mind on cocaine and on MTV, I couldn't stand the guy.
Okay.
But he's grown on me. Mm-hmm. And Forgetting Sarah Marshall and the sequel to that, which was Get Him to the Greek, hysterical actor, makes a lot of fun of his lifestyle, how it used to be.
Yeah.
But intelligent.
He is smart.
The banter between those two is just hysterical. And I understand that he challenged Kennedy to a pull-up contest. And Russell Brand said he regrets accepting that.
Are they going to have a pull-up contest?
Yes, from what I understand.
I think Brand looks like he's pretty ripped. He looks like he's in pretty good shape.
Okay, yeah, and he's a light guy. I mean,
you can't underestimate
Kennedy
people, even those like skinny, small people.
Yeah.
Because I worked with a guy on I'll say his name. This is great. There's nothing secret. Adam Boltz, and he produced a film I worked on. Long story short, the guy, he's maybe my size, maybe a little taller but thin, and but man, he's a badass. He did the triathlon. Mm-hmm. So what's that? You run 24 miles a day, 26, 24 miles, and then you swim
and bike.
Then you swim like so many miles, and then you bike like 100 miles or something. Oh my God! It's like, how can anybody physically do that?
When we were doing the parade, at one point, I thought it was funny because it was getting hot. It got warm that day. And I'm like, why don't you just drop on the street and do some push-ups, Pete?
Yeah. So Bobby's doing his own Putin, the shirtless thing and everything.
Yeah.
No, but you see, I want to go, okay, if I could, I think I got sidetracked, but earlier, like 10 minutes ago, this show, I was talking about what I have been ranting on this for a long, long time. Long before this campaign is the sickness of America. And we've spread it to other nations with our garbage food and our Western way of life. But Bobby talks a lot about that as a sensitive issue, talking about people's health condition, okay?
Well, you don't want to hurt their feelings.
Well, and so we're a sickness society. We're based on sickness. Doctors don't tell you when you come in, they don't tell you, this is what you got to do so you don't have to see me again. And this is what you got. No, they just say, here's your prescription. They're drug dealers for big pharma.
Well, my doctor did a little bit different.
Well,
Alex,
maybe some of them
go
do.
walking, don't eat what you eat, things like that. I'm great in the summer because I bike a lot, as you know.
Yeah,
but going
right.
back to that thing, when I was young, we had the president's physical fitness test that you had to take.
Yeah.
Because phys ed was something that you had to do in school. You don't hear about this anymore. I mean, it was the president's physical fitness.
No.
Nothing about
President Kennedy? Well, President Kennedy.
This was in the 70s. I remember it was big during bicentennial.
Okay, President Kennedy encouraged Americans to walk 50 miles. Now, I don't think that was at one stretch. Maybe that was like try to see if you can do it in a week, which is doable.
Yeah, it is.
When I go to the gym, I don't go often. My workout is mostly at home, and I take long walks, but I still do boxing. I train as if I'm, because I used to, do amateur boxing. So I train as if I'm training for a fight. That's how I stay in tip-top shape, because it's really intense training. But I would walk like 5-6 miles on the treadmill, and so that's like anyway. But look, our society is a sickness society, because just like there's big money in war, there's big money in sickness.
Yes.
And if all Americans would get in tip-top shape, and be like Bobby Kennedy's a perfect example. God, if he's in that kind of shape at 65, imagine the shape you could be in at 45 or 35. Then the House of Cards, that is our sickness society, would come crashing down. So much is based on us being ill. And as the body feels, the mind feels, and vice versa. So we have everybody on antidepressants, a drug for this, a drug for that. And heart disease still remains the number one killer. And what causes heart disease? Obesity, stress, anxiety, our garbage eating.
And Joe Rogan talks about that a lot too, with how America has. You can't tell somebody that they need to lose weight. You can't hurt their feelings, and it's just nuts.
You know what it is? You're being accomplished. You're really when somebody is severely overweight, 150, but they're severely obese, and you see people handicapped now. The new handicap is somebody's so obese that they need one of those little scooters because they can barely walk without. Okay, and when you tell them, you're beautiful, you're fine just the way you are, don't change. That's like telling what obesity is you're inflamed. Your organs are inflamed, you're inflamed, you have diabetes, you're real close to diabetes, and all the diseases that go with it. And now, so the talk is, how can we prepare for the next pandemic? The talk is almost like there's going to be one. And there's the last 100 years has kind of been like the pandemic century, SARS, bird flu, Ebola, AIDS, but we come through it, and we've never locked down before. We didn't lock down during AIDS. And Fauci, and maybe this is a whole nother program, he was, Fauci, AZT was Fauci's baby. And people don't recall the gays were protesting Fauci. It's not just right-wing conservatives or us Kennedy lovers, us conspiracists. The gay populace was protesting Fauci because they're like, hey, dude, your drug is killing my partner here, But no, nothing to see here, So the talk is like, how will we prepare for the next pandemic? Hey, I have an idea, and Bobby has an idea. Let's get healthy, because if we're healthy, our immunity goes through the roof, But when we're unhealthy, our immunity is compromised. And so, again, you have a sick population that's severely out of shape. Their immunity is already rock bottom as is. So, wow, how brilliant. Let's stay home. Let's stay out of the sunshine, vitamin D, stay home, no exercise, we're drinking, men are, I'm sorry, but I'll be blatant about it. Men are jacking off, getting even more addicted, pornography, which debilitates the mind. All kinds of serious mental health just went, look, stress, anxiety, that affects your immunity. And that's what I was talking about from the very beginning. I always knew this. Stress and anxiety and fear are the worst things possible for your immunity. And then couple that with, not just couple, it's triple, quadruple with lousy eating, over drinking. And Big Pharma loves it. It's a dream come true. And the vaccine, so you had ivermectin and hydrochloroquine, which were known to fight all kinds of diseases, from malaria to you name it. And the minute doctors and scientists were coming on, they say, hey, all we got to do is take ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. That's what we got to get to people. They were scrubbed. They were censored from big tech. No. We got to wait. We got to wait for the vaccine because, we got to make billionaires. Every day a new billionaire was created during COVID. Wow. And it sucked the middle class. See, every totalitarian communist state, there's no middle class. Really, there's the poor, then there's the power, the government, the top and the bottom. So it's not a conspiracy theory to think that the middle class war against the middle class. The middle class is the buffer, really, between a country becoming a total communist country.
We've got time for one more song. Then I want to come back, talk a little bit about your career, and then we'll close with how people could donate to.
Wait a second. I have a career?
Shut up.
I got to think about that.
As far as I'm concerned,
I don't know what that career would be called.
But, you're, in my opinion, you do a little of everything.
Yeah.
Like, you're an author, you're a musician, you're a songwriter, you're a boxer, you do a lot. And I remember, and I had made a note of this because
campaign manager,
and we're going to talk about that and how people could donate money. But
not for Bobby.
Reminds me of when I lived in Indianapolis for 3 years, and I call it 3 years. I was I did time in Indianapolis.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I moved from Pittsburgh to Indianapolis.
Every time I'm with you, I learn something new.
And then I remember I had the magazine, and it was really getting super, super hot there in the first year, 95. It took off like crazy.
Yeah.
I had an audience that didn't have a voice. They didn't have MKUltra to track their favorite artists.
Yeah.
And then I was doing the club DJ thing, and they said, "Well, what are you, a club DJ or a writer? You can't be both." I'm like, bullshit.
Why not?
I can't be both.
Yeah.
But that's the mentality there.
Exactly.
And I'm like, least likely person you'd ever think would be one of my greatest influences, other than my grandfather, was Andy Warhol. Oh. He did everything. You look at my living room; it's all Warhol. And he did everything in art.
Dude, and when he said everyone will be famous for 15 minutes, oh man, what a prophet!
Right?
How right was that? And you know what? You're right. Going back about, I think it's a big mistake to ask. We all ask little kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? What? I only get to be one thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I could never answer that question because I always wanted to do everything. I wanted to live 100 lifetimes. Mm-hmm. And I have. And I'm insane like that. I'll have something going that's really a good thing that's going, and I will just self-destruct it. I will just abort it because it's become too routine, too easy for me. And sometimes I'll go back to it. Sometimes I'll move on. And I like right now, I've really got immersed, not just in Bobby's campaign, but I'm also working with a mayoral candidate in Amesbury,
That's right.
Amesbury, Massachusetts.
And we'll talk about, hopefully get him on the show here.
Yeah.
But when I moved here, after doing time in Indianapolis for 3 years, I was I've always had daytime day job Alex, and then rock and roll Alex. And then rock and roll Alex got to do club DJ. I was on FM radio, got syndicated nationwide.
Right.
I was doing television. I was writing. I was a poet. I was a promoter. I was a manager and a tour manager. And I mean, I got to do everything here.
Right.
And then the internet. And then you don't see Barnes & Noble. You don't see Tower Music. You don't see the record stores, the bookstore chains. And,
it cheapened everything.
Yeah.
Old school guys like you who and so many celebrities, so many musical artists wouldn't make it today who made it successful the hard way because everybody's doing it. It's push button fame.
We were doing MKUltra cut and paste.
A real magazine.
Before computers,
A real magazine.
And that's how they did it. We had what was called Blue Lines, but that's a whole different show. That's the book that I'm going to put out here soon. And with my graphic artist, Max Bravo, we're putting this book together. And it's just like, okay, for the fans.
Great.
It's not for me. It's for the fans. And but the first song on your new album, this is going to be the last one we can play because we're doing what I wanted to do. We're talking about this shit, man. And thank you so much because I tried to keep politics out of this show unless it was like Paul Vallis and, running for mayor here. Amy and I both were big supporters. And both of us were brokenhearted on election night. We spent that together, watched it, and it was just over. But yeah, I really like this opener. It opens up the album. She Ain't Got Me. This is my friend Pete Berwick. You're listening to the MK Ultrasound podcast.
She got a Cadillac, silk dress in black, and a husband in every state. She got 34, 24, 34. Her boyfriends are never late. She got a PhD in psychology and a very old Senate seat. But she ain't got me, no. She ain't got me, ain't got no ball and chain. She ain't got me to hold her little hand. But she ain't got me, don't know what to say, just whose loss is it anyway? She ain't got me, rock and roll. She got diamond rings, she's in magazines and a star on Instagram. She got tax deductions and drug connections, got saved by Billy Graham. She got reservations for long vacations, she'll take you to Italy. But she ain't got me, oh. She ain't got me, ain't got no ball and chain. She ain't got me to hold her little hand. Well, she ain't got me, don't know what to say, just whose loss is it anyway? She ain't got me. Oh, hell. She's a psychopath, smokes high-speed grass, got a dungeon down below. She got whips and chains, flies her own planes. Man, you really ought to see her go. She ain't got me, ain't got no ball and chain. She ain't got me to hold her little hand. Well, she ain't got me, don't know what to say, just whose loss is it anyway? She ain't got me. No, she ain't got, so what? Ain't got me.
And the album is called,
The Damage is Done, which is everything we've been talking about.
and you can get it online. It's at, you have PeteBerwick.com, right?
Yeah, go to iTunes. That's best just to go straight to iTunes or Google Play or wherever you download your music.
So when I became friends with you, and it was through another television guy, Mike Preston, introduced me to you, and became friends for a lot of the same reasons. But then, you know, you're an author, and I was a big fan of The Bar Singer.
Yes,
you followed up with, what was that after that? The Writer.
The Writer.
And then The Man Who Killed
Man
God.
Who Killed God.
Gulf Coast, which I love.
Fried chicken and severed limbs under my pillow.
And then you just did a
long story there.
A book.
Me and Alex in a motel room, but that's for another show.
Yeah, the other show. And we'll be doing that one in Boys Town, so you can come watch us live. But you did this big fat book here, man, on a local band, The Boys. You met my friend Bob Hoaxma. He's a big fan.
Yeah.
Too Wild to Tame, The Story of the Boys, BOYZZ. I haven't had time to read it yet. I'm busier than I've ever been in my life, believe it or not. But yeah, you're a fan of rock and roll, 80s rock and roll, touring rock and roll?
Well, they were mid-70s band, right? And locally, they were really big and really famous.
Well, Cheap Trick talks about opening for them.
Right, and they knew, right, and they were on the...
No, they opened for Cheap Trick, and then they opened for Angel, because the guys at Angel, Frank Domino, the singer, our first interview talked about the Boys.
The Boys, they were opening for REO, Aerosmith, everyone. Jay Giles, and they were like, see, I wanted to write a rock and roll story about the underdog, about the band that almost was world famous, and I was there though. I knew the guys. I was at the scene at their shows back in the day in the '70s and everything, and they were just the bomb, and I knew there was a niche for the book. It took me a year to write it, and I finished it in this year, right around my birthday, April, and it's done well. It was actually a top 40 on the Amazon top 40 for a week or two because the sales just surged. I had a top 40 book,
And you're also an award-winning actor.
Thank you. Yes, I've had about 10 best actor awards for film festivals and whatnot. Yeah, Almost Famous, just like the movie.
Right?
Almost Famous. I'm one of those almost famous guys that no one's ever heard about.
Dude, I watched that movie. It reminds me when I was a young writer and how bands treated me. And I want to say something really quick. My first interview, and the Wikipedia page that was up about me said it was Gene Simmons. No, it was Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
Gene Simmons was a few months later, but back then in 89, 90, I showed up for the interview at Holiday Inn for lunch with the band, Ace Frehley's whole band, Frehley's Comet at the time, and short hair, didn't really know how to dress. I wasn't a rock and roll guy yet. It was inside me, but I kept my look tailored towards what my father would approve and not approve of. And then when I grew my hair, when I started dressing different, the cowboy boots and all that, bands treated me different. Like in the beginning with the Black Crowes and Ace Frehley, they wouldn't really open up to me. But when I started looking more like them,
right?
And it's funny because it goes both ways.
Yeah,
society,
yeah.
But yeah, I've always been a rock.
They
and roll
trust
guy.
you more.
Yes, and
you're not like the business. You're not the establishment.
But yeah, exactly, and that's what Almost Famous. It reminds me so much of my early days, man. And that kid just, look who he came to be.
Yeah, there's a story there. I just want to get it real quick. CAA, Creative Artists Agency, big agency. That was Mike Ovitz, who left William Morris. Oh, yeah. Anyway, there's a big history of that, but I'm a big fan of this history. But anyway, back in the day, so they opened up, they were doing mostly film and television, but they wanted to open up a music division where they signed acts. So the Jefferson Airplane came in, and they had this suit. Okay, you're in the music division now, and they're just kind of like winging it. Jefferson Airplane comes in, and they're like really cold to this guy who's like trying to talk him into signing with the agency, and they rolled a joint. And they passed it right there in the guy's office, and they pass it to him, and he's like, smoke. He's thinking, okay, do I or don't I? And he smoked the joint. He's high as shit, and he fucking stumbles out of the office, finds his way home, and he's just wasted all. And then the next morning, Mike Ovitz, the president of the company, says, congratulations, the Jefferson Airplane signed with you.
Well, it's like the president.
And see, that was their test. They would not have signed with him if he didn't take that joint.
The founder of Casablanca Records, Neil Bogart, and there's a movie out about him now, which isn't that accurate, but also a couple of books on Casablanca Records. George Clinton got him baked in order for Parliament to get the spaceship, $1 million spaceship, and he just gets high and he's okay. I got your fucking spaceship. But, so that in a nutshell is your career. How do people? Is it PeteBerwick.com?
PeteBerwick.com. Or PeteBerwick.net. I own both domains.
Okay.
They're mine.
So there's that. And then how do people find ways to donate, or how can they learn more about our candidate, Robert Kennedy? Kennedy24.com.
Kennedy24.com. That's the official website. You can sign up to volunteer. You can donate. You can see where the events are coming, maybe to your town. You can see where his next podcasts are. He's doing podcasts. I would say follow Bobby on Twitter, because you can really keep up day by day and know what's going on. A lot of great. The videos are there. The interviews are there. If people would just do their research, these closed-minded people, it's like, what's your alternative? Biden? You're going to vote for him? Do you really want to see him reelected? And this is a whole nother episode,
right?
But something is going to be a real interesting primary and election season. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I mean, I have a little insider opinions of what may happen, but seriously, what I don't see happening is Biden being reelected again, because nobody's going to believe it. He stole the election once. I don't think they can get away with it a second time, because really, this country is going to reelect this inept imbecile?
I don't understand. They're doing the
his brain is Swiss cheese, man.
They're doing the DNC here in Chicago, which is
it's going to be 1968 all over again.
Oh boy, would that be fucking horrible. But yeah, that the fact that he's not even going to debate anybody. No. What's the point of having the fucking convention?
Okay, here's Obama. Very intelligent, articulate, well-spoken. He even, as popular as he was.
He's a rock star.
And when he won his rightful presidency, in 2009. Okay, that's when he was inaugurated.
Okay.
But it was 2008 campaign. Well, he was inaugurated in 2009. Okay, but it was a mandate. It wasn't even close with McCain.
Right.
And he campaigned for re-election. He didn't arrogantly say, I don't have to campaign because it's a mandate, man. And he ran against Romney. And Romney gave him a little run for the money. I think at times there's a little bit like, oh, this might be close. But I don't believe it was that close at all. And even, so if Obama can campaign and debate, Biden, and we're to believe, and there's still those that will never believe that the election was stolen, which it was. It's a fact. We're to believe that Obama, who was a rock star, young people who they didn't want to vote for another, old white guy, they went out in droves for Obama. And African Americans, the blacks, who, oh my God.
Some never voted.
Of course they're enthusiastic. You were to believe that Biden had a higher popular vote than Obama. Well, I'm sorry, but I think to believe that is an offense and an insult to Barack Obama. You can't. I'm sorry. Get your minds out of the crevice that's called your ass and face the truth. Biden stole the election. COVID lockdowns, so much of it was a lie. The scientists, and now the articles are trickling out now. They are authentic. The scientific community, who we're supposed to believe, they're saying, hey, you know what? Even Mark Zuckerberg, who was censoring people left and right on Facebook, even there's a clip of him being interviewed. It's out there. I don't know what search words, but he's admitting that we were censoring people during the pandemic. But it turns out that a lot of things that we were censoring for, they were true. But so even faced with this, people are still going to believe what they want to believe. In the words of Paul Simon and Garfunkel, the boxer, a man believes what he wants to believe and disregards the rest. That's it.
All right, that's a good hour plus, man. Thank you. We're going to go eat lunch at El Palmar, which is like a rite of passage here. I want to thank Dave McNally for doing the edit on White Lines, Jason Harmon in Indiana for converting a couple of things for me that I needed done. Pete's great new album. You can find that online at the websites that you heard about. And hey, this is Alex. Please subscribe. It's free. Please it helps us a lot just for you to just take a minute, click subscribe, and that's it. So thanks everybody for listening. Pete, thanks again. Let's go eat some bad food.
Thank you, brother. Love you.
Roll.
You've been listening to the MKULTRASOUND podcast from Chicago, Illinois with your host, Alexander. Please click like and subscribe and share with your friends. Check us out online at mkultramagazine.com. And on behalf of the MKULTRASOUND staff, thanks for listening, everybody.